Hello guys. In this video I will show you how to prepare a development environment you could use to evaluate Apache Ignite Connector for Mule 3 created by Hawkore. In short, I want you to see how two Mule instances, properly configured, will work as a cluster when using Apache Ignite Connector operations. Follow this tutorial's instructions and you will install and configure two Mule runtimes. Create a very simple example that uses a cache scope. Deploy this example on both Mule instances. And finally test if there is a working cluster for connector operations. Specifically, we will test how the cache scope entries are propagated through the cluster nodes. This example has been published at Github. You'll find the relevant links on our web page. So let's do it. Choose the directory where you will perform two Mule installations. It will be the base demo directory. For example, /tmp/demo. Open a web browser and search for the terms Mule Community Download. As you can see, the results should include an entry named Download Mule Kernel. Click on it. Scroll down and look for 3.9.0 version and download the tar package to the base demo directory. Unpack tar contents on that directory. Rename the extracted directory and add the suffix _1. Unpack tar contents on the base demo directory again. Rename the extracted directory and add the suffix _2. Now modify the configuration of both installations and add a property to establish the default ports that must be used by Apache Ignite Discovery Service and HTTP connector. Edit the file Mule standalone 3.9.0_1-conf-wrapper.conf. Add entry wrapper.java.additional.17 to define the system property default.http port with value 8081. And add a second entry wrapper.java.additional.18 to define the system property default.ignite.discovery.port with value 45500. Save the changes you've made to the configuration file. Edit the file Mule standalone 3.9.0_2-conf-wrapper.conf. In this case, set the default HTTP port to 8082 and the default Ignite Discovery port to 45501. Please note that this is not the recommended way to set per node configuration for Mule applications, but it will fit our requirements for this example. Now start both Mule instances. Open a new terminal. Go to the first Mule instance directory. Run the command bin-mule. Go to the other terminal and move to the second Mule instance directory. Again, run the command bin-mule. Next, let's create a very simple example in order to see how they will work as a cluster thanks to the Apache Ignite Connector. Open the Anypoint Studio. In my case, the connector is already installed. If you need to install it, you will find a tutorial on our web page. The first thing to do is to create a new Mule project. Go to File menu and select New followed by Mule Project. Enter dummy cache cluster as project name. Choose the Mule runtime version to want to use, for example, 3.9 Community. Select Create a Maven project. And press Finish to create the project. Some Maven dependencies are only available at Hawkore's repository, so update the pom.xml file and add it. In order to use the connector, you will need to create an Apache Ignite instance. So create a new file called ignite.xml. Enter an example configuration, store and close the file. Note that Apache Ignite Discovery Service port must be parameterized with the property you set at the Mule configuration before, default.ignite.discovery.port. Remember that you can download the full example. Find the link on our web page. Now start building the flow by inserting a HTTP inbound endpoint that you will be able to easily test later. At the property dialog, fill in the source configuration. Create a new connector configuration. Change the default port and set the property you added at the Mule configuration, default.http.port. Accept default configuration. Back to the property dialog, you want to produce a text response, so add a new header. Set content-type as header name and text/plain as header value. And save the changes you've made so far. Now, insert a cache scope. Go to the Properties dialog and complete its configuration. Enter a key expression based on a HTTP query parameter called Q. Go to Cache Scope Strategy options. Create a new strategy. Name it Cache Scope Strategy. Next, create a new connection manager. In order to keep it simple, change its name to Ignite. Enter the name of the file that you created before and that holds the Apache Ignite configuration, ignite.xml. And set grid 1 as instance name. Now create a new cache definition. Name it, for example, cluster. And add a new cache configuration. Select Simple Cache Configuration and click Next. Change atomicity mode to transactional. Accept the rest of the default cache configuration by clicking the Finish button. Now accept the cache definition, click Finish too. And finally, accept Cache Scope Strategy configuration by clicking OK. Save the changes you've made so far. Now insert an expression processor inside the cache scope. This processor's function is waiting 10 seconds before allowing the process to continue. Enter a meaningful display name. And enter the wait sentence. Use the thread sleep method to make it stop for 10 seconds. In order to define the response, add a set payload processor. Enter a meaningful display name. And enter an example response by adding a prefix to the Q HTTP parameter value. Again, save the changes you've made so far. The flow is already built, but a final step remains to finish the example application. This connector supports multiple Apache Ignite versions, on this video's recording date, from 2.4 to 2.6. In order to fulfill this objective, you must be able to choose the libraries that are packed inside the application, so the Apache Ignite connector does not include them. It is your responsibility to add these dependencies. So go to the Global Elements tab and add a new Apache Ignite configuration element. Select the connection manager you built previously and add the 3 required dependencies, starting by Ignite Core. The group is org.apache.ignite. The artifact is Ignite Core. And enter 2.6.0 as version, although we could set any supported one. Now continue with Ignite Indexing dependency. Same group. The artifact is Ignite Indexing. And enter the same version you did before. Finally, configure Ignite SLF4J dependency. Press OK. And save the changes. We are done with flow building. Next, you must package the application you will deploy at Mule instances. Open a shell and go to the demo application directory. Package the application with Maven package command. Deploy the application to running Mule instances by copying the package to their applications directory. Check that the application starts on both nodes. Look for a message with Apache Ignite cluster topology. Here it is. And finally, test that cache changes are distributed to every cluster node. Use curl command to execute, at the first node, a HTTP query setting a q parameter with value key 1. Remember that first node HTTP port is 8081. The response will be produced in about 10 seconds as the key was not cached. Now use curl command to execute the same command at the second node. Remember that second node HTTP port is 8082. You should get an instant response as the key is now cached. And that concludes this example. If you want to download the full example, see the documentation or view other tutorials, we invite you to register at our website if you have not yet done so. Thanks and see you soon.